My dad was abusive. And I think I still to this day am sure that I don't quite get how profound that was on my development as a person. Forest for the trees. I've come to see some of the results of that lack of trust. So for 40 years, I pretty much just, the heck with you all, I'll just take care of myself. And we're mammals. We are herd animals. We need each other. So when I cut myself off from the tribe, from the herd, I get in trouble, and I don't have a reference point anymore. And if I don't know what I'm feeling, which often happens when those trust bonds are broken, I don't trust how I feel, because often it's my feelings that get me in trouble with the group that I'm in. Shut up, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, I don't want to hear that you're upset, go away, or worse. So I learn not to share, and the best way to avoid that problem is to not know. So if I'm emotionally numb, I'm not getting in any trouble at all. Well, I find myself gravitating to other people who don't feel, who are numb, who are probably doing something about that, like drinking or using or violent, dangerous behaviors or whatever. So my world gets more and more dangerous and more out of control. So, at the age of about 40, when I wrapped my truck around a pole over on the Eastern Shore and picked myself up out of the cornfield through the windshield through which I was thrown, I looked back and I thought, you probably only get one of these in a lifetime. Maybe I need to do something different. So I tracked down a therapist first, because I had seen a few therapists along the way, and in earnest this time. And he immediately said, well, first thing, you need to stop drinking. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. Yeah, well, just do it anyway. And I over time realized that, yes, that was accurate. So AA, NA, ACOA, all of the, it didn't take long for me to realize that for me, it wasn't about the alcohol. It was about emotional cluelessness, and what was going on. As I got more aware of who I was and what resources I had, and began to realize that I could talk to people about things that were important to me and important to them, like, what's going on with you? What was going on with me? There was a place to connect around something that was critical to my well-being. I got clean. And I don't mean just in the using and the drinking issue. It's like I learned how to pay attention. I learned how to take care of myself. I learned to stop being judgmental and beating the snot out of myself, and to be kind and loving to myself. Healing is the application of love to the places that hurt. If I've learned anything in my recovery, that's one of them. And so every time we experience something that is distressing, there is inherent in that experience the opportunity to heal. After a while, recovery turns into discovery. That recovery is focused on something in the past. We're recovering from something. Discovery is more about, where am I now and where am I going? And so at some point in doing the work, that happens. But it doesn't happen accidentally. Recovery is some work. So I'm maybe 25, and I'm having some pretty significant emotional, extreme experiences. And I'm walking on the Beltway, I think, outside of Washington, with a stick in my hand, and I'm whacking on bushes, and playing, Captain Cook or whatever. And the cop pulls up next to me, and chit-chat, into the car I go. And we're driving towards the station, and we start to have a conversation. And he says, somewhere along the line, he says, are you like seeing anybody, like a therapist or a psychiatrist or, any of that? I said, yes. Why do you ask? He says, well, because my son was seeing a guy a few years ago, and he was acting much the same way you seem to be acting right now. And it went really well because he was seeing this guy. So by the time we got to the police station, I was feeling less stressed because I was a little out of control, and I knew it. But when we get out of control, sometimes we know we're out of control, but there isn't any way of getting back in control. So I just kind of do the best we can until it passes. And so he was very, his awareness of that and his willingness to talk to me as a person with a son who had issues, tended to de-escalate it for me. I felt much better by the time we got to the police station than I did when I got in the car, which is usually the other way around. But he was a really nice guy, just a personal connection. And in the peer world, the peer support world, it's really, and in the recovery world, a lot of the emotional distress that we experience with things is because the connections, the trust bonds have been broken, usually early on. And so recovery in a lot of ways is about reconnecting. And that can happen anywhere. It can happen in the back of a police car. This guy and I connected just through. So it was very, it was a wonderful experience, actually. Personally, I think recovery is entirely about connection, both from an individual perspective and a community perspective. We're talking about the police and all of that. If we don't connect, if we all don't connect, we don't get it. We don't recover. Much of the mental health issues were caused by disconnection. Many of the drug and alcohol issues are caused as a result of disconnection. That we can't recover in a vacuum. We have to connect. We are herd animals. It's really that simple, I think. How we go about reconnecting is the work. But that's what we need. We need more of each other, not less.